Welcome to another episode of the Gray Area Podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with the Mchezo Bwana. Mchezo, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm all right. So what we do here on the Gray Area Podcast is we have 15-minute thought-provoking conversation starters. We'll pick a subject. We get about 15 minutes into it and, just get the conversation started for you guys to go ahead and leave your opinions. And today we're going to do one that is actually a request. And, Mchezo, I know you feel very strongly on this. Maybe I'm not as well versed, but, there's something that you don't like about Joe Biden's policy. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
A guy on Twitter had tweeted me. He responded to one of my tweets about Joe Biden, and he wasn't even black, but he said, "Hey, this is Joe Biden's basically his plan to create wealth in the black community." So I looked over it and I told him I'm not happy with it, and I'll explain it to him on the podcast. So there's a few things here.
Well,
go ahead.
Just a couple questions for you real quick. So the fact that he's not black, does that matter? Is that the type of subject you're going to get into versus what he does for the black community?
Well, no, the actual guy that tweeted me was not black.
Right, I understand that.
So that does matter because he's an Asian guy, and Asians don't let black people speak about Asian issues.
Okay.
So
I guess
it's disrespectful for him to come into our community and tell us about what we need to accept. Where we can't go into his community and do the same thing. And we don't do that because it would be disrespectful,
Okay. Yeah, I guess. I mean, we talk about black and white issues, but I guess what you're saying is, when we talk about it, I'm not sitting there telling you what you should feel, right?
Right.
So there's
right.
a difference there.
Right. And I'm just giving an opinion in what I see. And I'm trying to get less opinion in the future and more observation and solutions. But but I'm not saying, hey, somebody needs to do this, somebody needs to do that, especially if I'm not doing it myself, because I know how hard it is to actually practice what you preach. So, but to come to somebody else's community and tell them what they need to do and tell them they need to vote for Joe Biden, I couldn't. The Asian people would kick me out of that community if they would even listen to me at all. So one of the things he said is he's going to through his policy from education to housing. So he's going to ensure that black families can build and sustain wealth, right? But in order to have wealth, you need to have ownership. And I really don't see anything in this plan about ownership as far as businesses, because you need an economy to have wealth. Now, home ownership is one way, but he said that he's basically going to try to give first-time home buyers down payment assistance. But yeah, that's not really good enough. And another thing is he says minorities in this and people of color. So people of color and minorities means is actually not going to be for black people. That's actually like trick wording. When people get vague like that, especially in politics, is typically trick wording. Because you can't, if you want to do something for black people, it needs to be specifically stated for black Americans, not black immigrants, not African immigrants. It has to be specifically for black Americans, because black Americans are the ones who were put in a position where they were disadvantaged. Everybody understands this. So you can't give a white person, a Mexican immigrant, an Asian immigrant, and a black person $50 and say they're on even footing. You have to give the black person another amount in order to be able to catch up and get on equal footing. So when he says,
so would you say,
go ahead,
real quick. So would you say, and let me see if I get what you're saying here, because I know you're really big on black people having their own. So if I get what you're saying, it's that, he's going to go out there and he's going to give them money, but that doesn't really solve the problem.
He's not going to specifically, if he was going to specifically give black people money, that would be something that would be useful to the black community. But when you say black community, and then you sneak in people of color, you sneak in
Hmm.
minorities, that means other people besides black people, black Americans are going to get the money, which is what's been happening. People of color, minority, and black Americans are three separate things. We're all people of color, as a matter of fact, but minorities is relative also.
Right.
Black
Well, I didn't
Americans,
get much of that color, Mchezo. I didn't get much of it. I can't even go in the sun, man.
yeah. Well, if
The
you
sun.
can't go on the sun, that's the issue between you and the sun. And so that's something you might have to work out with the sun because I have a great relationship with the sun. But another thing he mentioned on here is HBCUs. They want to invest over 70 billion in HBCUs, but HBCUs, I don't know if you've been to an HBCU, and I've seen Asians and white people there. So just to give funding
Yeah,
to HBC, Kamala Harris went to a HBCU. She's not even Black American, right? So
yeah, she went to. I was at Howard once. I've been to Howard before.
yeah, so
And yeah, there were white people in the like. It doesn't matter who we went for. It was a graduation, right? And then they're calling these names, and yeah, you'd see white people and Asian people too. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like
yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
historically Black doesn't mean all Black. It just means
Yeah,
historically
I understand
Black.
that.
Like
Right,
Harvard is a historically white college, but not all
I get it.
people that go there are white. So he also talked about loan forgiveness for public servants. That doesn't really do anything, loan forgiveness. We need actual money because once we have actual money, for real, once we have actual money, we can build. And those that can't build, those that fail, and failure is relative also because we all have failures, but those that I would say below the money, that's on them. But they understand that giving enough black people money will change the whole dynamic of this country and then the world. Another thing is they want to double the funding for small business credit, right? To like 3 billion.
Uh huh.
But
Okay.
it says, see, that's why you got it's trick language. He says especially those owned by people of color. So this doesn't
Hmm.
even mean black people, it could be white people. And then minorities also include white women. I don't know if you knew that, but and people
Hmm.
of color is like I said, anybody. Anybody can be a person of color.
I
Um,
understand. So I think so. So what you're saying, he's basically using a shotgun method. He's using vague language, right? He's just trying to hit everything. And am I kind of getting what you're saying? There's nothing like super specific about what he's saying,
right. And
and
when
you'd rather be.
one of the local politicians here told me you have to be specific about what you want. And if a politician, this is a successful politician, so if he knows that, but he's not on the level of Joe Biden, but if he knows that, then Joe Biden knows that. I would presume. I don't want to assume that Joe Biden knows that, but I want to say Joe Biden. It's a heavy chance that Joe Biden and his staff know what they're doing here, and it's basically a bait and switch. Even Donald Trump said that the Democrats have been fooling black people and making empty promises and selling us out. So when you got Donald Trump saying that, that's when you know that's going to be a
I
huge
mean,
talking point for the right wing people going forward.
well, I think that I mean they can always use that, but the politicians really don't. They don't seem to get done as much as they say they're going to do in a campaign. And that's just kind of how it works, right? Um, we did talk about how we have talked about before how Democrats just in general try to patronize black people just to get the vote, and it doesn't seem like a lot of it's been happening for them. I mean, more happens through Democrats than Republicans.
Like
It
what?
seems. It seems,
Like what?
right? But that's just it. Well, that's just it. It's like I can't name any.
Okay. All
I
right.
think that's I think that's the way most
So you
voters.
can't name one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm thinking most voters are kind of like me. Is like they don't really sit down. They don't really like go through the issues. I mean, I will like beforehand. I already know who I'm voting for. It's one side or the other. I just rather pick Biden over Trump. I just really, really just don't like Trump. But I just don't see. I don't believe in either of them. I don't like either of them, honestly.
Okay. So
But
when you say
what am I going to do?
you could not vote, that's still a choice. But you say they prey on that, and that's what they hope. They hope that the people don't actually really know the issues and don't take the time. And in a lot of cases, the people are distracted. We work
Hmm.
a lot of times. I told you before, most people don't want to work the job they're doing or work at all. So they're distracted. When you get off of work, you want to relax, you want to watch TV, you want to do something else, get your mind off of work, right? So they hope
Hmm.
that you're distracted, you don't pay attention to the issues, and you don't hold their feet to the fire. The other thing is when you talk about Democrats don't do nothing or other people don't do nothing like the Republicans, well, Obama got a lot of laws passed for gays. He got a lot of laws passed for illegals and non-citizens. Illegals have a lot of rights, and non-citizens have a lot of rights, and they can't even vote. So, when you talk about that, we can prove right there. I can prove and say, hey, Obama did this for gays, gay marriage. He did this
Hmm.
for illegals, Dreamer Act, things like that. So
Hmm.
I can point to what he did for them, but you can't seem to point to what he did specifically for black people because he didn't do anything specifically for black people. Now, I want to ask you this though. So, I don't know
Hmm.
if you noticed that Trump released this platinum plan, I guess, for black people. Did you see that?
No, what's it entail? Uh-uh.
Basically, it's kind of like some trick language also, but at least he acknowledged black people, and it's a start, and it can always be changed. But
Hmm.
if Trump was to offer black people reparations, do you think black people should vote for Trump?
I can't speak as a black person, but I would imagine that they would. I
Okay,
mean, that's a huge issue. I imagine it would sway some people for sure.
okay. So there you go, Trump. If you want to get some black votes, if you want to really sway the election, if you want to do like Lyndon B. Johnson and have black people voting for the next 100 years, there you go. Because like I said, with the Democrats, these guys have proven to be undercover racist, basically. And they're not really doing anything for black people. They just, you said, they pander to black people and give us empty promises. So much so that even a person that's people call racist like Trump mentioned it, and you can't dispute it.
Uh-huh.
See, that's the thing. You can call him a liar all you want. Well, I'm just saying you
I see
can't
what
dispute
you're saying.
what he said is true because the Democrats have had a poor record as far as helping black people and actually coming through on their promises. So I
Well, and
don't.
that's why I'm disillusioned, and I kind of don't follow it as much as you do because it just drives me crazy. I really, really used to, follow all the elections and things like that. I think it's important to vote, especially this year and these last couple of election processes, this last election process especially. I just got really disillusioned with the whole thing, like all of it, both sides, everything.
I think a
I
lot
got
of people
really
have.
disillusioned.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like I really don't care what anybody says before an election. I really don't care what they're running on. I don't care, what they say they're going to do because there's a really good chance it's all going to be bullshit anyway.
then don't vote. If
You
you're not going
know?
to get anything for your vote, why vote? See, this is why they want people to vote because a lot of black people aren't going to vote this year again. And once black people
Mm-hmm.
stop voting because they're disillusioned, other groups, mainly disgruntled white people, are going to drop out of the voting process. And then once that happens, and once white people get angry, especially the white people that actually do things, then stuff gonna get turned over, furniture gonna get turned over, you know. And a lot of these for real, and then a lot of these politicians are gonna be on the run basically, and explaining. They'll be on the run and explaining because they already are, so I can already see that.
Well, I would hope something gets shaken up. Yeah, I agree with you there. I hope something gets shaken up because right now I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to vote for the guy I hate the least, right? I'm not going to know any of the campaign policies or anything like that because, like I said, it's kind of like, preseason. Preseason doesn't matter. It's what you do during the season, you know? And it's all preseason to me. Like, all these policies, these running points and things that they get on, I don't know if you're going to do it. Sounds great. I don't know. So I just toss it all out as lies. I just toss it all out as, hey, that's a nice thought. And I'm just going to vote for the person I like just slightly better. I think a
Um,
lot of people do that too. I think a
See,
lot of people do that.
so you're not going for substance, you're just going for style. Who you just like? This is a popularity contest, right? Basically.
It is. It is. I mean, to even say that there's substance in it, I think is delusional. I
Okay.
don't think there's a lot of substance in what they say. So I'm not going to go based off what they say. So what can I go off of? I can go by track record, or
Well,
or we just
Joe
say this
Joe
is maybe a
Biden's track
popularity
record is worse than Trump's. So people can accept the definition of insanity as far as doing the same thing and expecting different results when it applies
right?
to a quote or other people. But when it's themselves, they don't see it the same way because people like yourself, you're insane because you say I don't like any of the choices. They're not going to do anything, but I'm going to still vote anyway. When a solution is actually not voting. See, we're making these people rich. All this is when we vote, these people are basically applying for a job. This it's a job interview, and then once they get the
Hmm.
job, what they do is they do the bidding for the big corporations. That's what they do.
That's kind of I'm thinking about like when you go to a job like your first week, your first month, like you're always dressed up and shit, and then after a month you're like, fuck this.
Basically,
That's what they do. Any potential employees out there, I don't do that. No, no.
right, right, right.
Yeah, and like I understand your frustration, and I'm sure you can understand my disillusionment. Yeah, and it's just one of those things. Like it's just exhausting to talk about it. And I turn my phone off. Like I got a Facebook, I got everything. I don't watch the news anymore. I just don't watch the news. I try to get my information where I can get it. On the internet and things like that. But social media, it's whatever somebody's talking about, right? And it's just it's just exhausting, man. Exhausting with black white issues, exhausting with political issues. So I turn my shit off sometimes for like a whole day. I just can't deal with it. So like right now, it's like really hard to have a conversation, and that's why I haven't even read anything on it. I'm just so out of it.
Yeah, I can
Like, man, I
understand
don't
that.
even know what to do.
I think you're
Yeah.
not the only one though. And I mean, you're not the only one because there's people out in the street on both sides in different colors protesting. I mean, this country is I don't know if it's coming apart at the seams, but we're definitely displeased with the politics and the politicians and the quote unquote leadership. I think we need to change the way we look at things. These are not our leadership. These people are
Well,
representatives, and they are supposed to do
one
our
thing
bidding.
one thing I will say that we can maybe talk about in another episode is this country's always been in unrest. We just seem to look at things nostalgically. There's a civil rights movement. There's uh, you know hippies and stuff like that. There's Vietnam. All that stuff. Everybody's always arguing about the politics in this country because you have the right to do that. But I think people look back. They're like, well, it was much better then. I'm like, oh, it wasn't really.
I think so.
This country's always at
I think so.
unrest.
I think so. I think the 80s was one of the best times in this country. It was a wholesome time. We got away from wholesomeness. We got away from family. Um, and whether it
The
was,
80s?
yeah, think about the 80s,
With
man.
yuppies and stuff? I mean,
You had Full
there's a lot of
House.
money being made.
I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm just saying if you look at how the 80s was portrayed, if you look at how it was wholesome TV, if you look at all that stuff, we don't have that stuff anymore. We don't have family structures anymore. So we
Yeah,
don't.
but didn't Reagan in the 80s, didn't he start the war on drugs?
He did. I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm just saying it was. I think was
I,
better. I mean, that was a
well,
sabotage. He was
I
drug
mean, we're
dealing
talking about
and lying. The
we're talking
CIA.
about incrementally better, though. We're talking about incrementally better. But at the same time, there was still conflict, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right. There's always
yeah,
conflict
there was
though,
still
right?
conflict. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, I
There's always
understand what you're
conflict.
saying. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I'm just saying when I remember, maybe I was just not, up on the issues when I was younger because I was a kid and worried
No,
about
man, we're
toys
the
and
same age. We were
cartoons.
watching the Care Bears, man. We were
Yeah,
watching the Care
maybe it was that
Bears.
then,
Yeah,
man.
like everything was good.
Man,
Care Bears. And then the NES came out. I mean, that's what we were doing.
right.
We were playing fucking video games at home.
Yeah, but now, these politicians, um, a lot of them, a lot of people are frustrated and fed up, and I know I'm not voting. I reached out to a judge, that's running. and the
Hmm.
judge didn't respond. Again, these people represent us. We
Hmm.
don't work. They're not our leaders. We don't work for them. They work for us. And if they're not going to do the job correctly, they can't do the job correctly. Then we need to make sure that we either don't vote or replace them with other people, or we need to find or we need to just not vote. They said we should
So,
stop voting.
so, so when it comes to your response to the guy about Joe Biden specifically, I'll let you close it out with this, and you just tell me, specifically why you don't like him. You already said why you're not voting, but I guess it's his track record, right? You just tell me why not Joe Biden, or answer that guy's question.
Well, yeah, I basically because if he or Trump specifically says they're going to do this, this, and this for black people, mainly money, set aside money for businesses, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
grants, not loans, grants. And if they do something like that, then I would be good with it because politics should
Mm-hmm.
be a transactional, unemotional relationship, I think. I think people get caught up in the smiling faces, seeing politicians going to church. A lot of that was some old Edward Bernays.
Salesmanship. It is
Yeah,
salesmanship.
yeah.
It is
So
salesmanship, and it should be what it should be is both sides whenever it's a good agreement, both sides lose something, and no one wants to lose anything to the other side anymore. I don't know if they ever did, but they refuse to give inches.
but they all work for
And
big corporations. All of them
the
work for the big
lobbyists.
corporations.
Yeah,
Like
it's been a problem for a long
when it
time.
comes down to it, they all receive money from the same people for the most part.
Yeah,
So,
I wonder how much lobbyists make, man. I'm gonna be a lobbyist.
well, John Boehner, they were talking about how when he was like the speaker, he was against marijuana. Now he's a lobbyist for the marijuana industry. I mean, and people, if you don't see that hypocrisy and understand these people are just working and it's a sales job, they're just conning you. And what they're doing is they try to get in position, a lot of them, so that way they can make money from the corporations. This is what they make, you know what I'm saying? That's the hustle. Get in an office and get money from the rich donors.
Get out, get
And
out, and
you
get an consulting job or
right.
something. Yeah.
And you get their money. You do the bidding of the big corporations, man. But hey, that's our time for today. Until next time, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Give us some feedback and comments. So we've gotten a couple of ideas now. So just keep them coming and just until the next time.